Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official NFL week number 18 upset alert picks, where I put teams on upset alert. I go through my top parlays. Also, take a look at the smart money here for the final regular season week of the NFL 2023 season, because technically this is the 2023 season, even though it is 2024, beginning with the Baltimore Ravens playing virtually all of their backups. Many of the important players going to be sitting out for the Ravens. They've locked up that number one seed and the bye that goes along with it. They're facing the Steelers. Obviously, the Steelers very motivated. This is the first game of the week, so the Steelers, they could very easily make the playoffs if they beat the Ravens, and you also get a situation where the Buffalo Bills lose to Miami on the road. I like Baltimore to cover in this one. Pittsburgh, they've had a nice run with Mason Rudolph, but this is still a team that kind of has a struggling offense even after the last few weeks. I will trust Baltimore and their defense at home to keep this game close. No Lamar Jackson. They're going to want to run the ball a lot. I think Baltimore, they may not win, but I do like them plus the 4 at home. They've still got a good team, really good coaching staff. I do like a lower scoring game, but the over-under is only 33.5, so it's not like you're getting a ton of value going in on the under there. I've got it at 17-16, a Steelers very close win. Maybe they went on a walk-off field goal, but you do have some wiggle room there with Baltimore plus the 4. The next game, it is Jacksonville sitting -5 on the road in Tennessee. I believe this line has shifted. Some money coming in on Tennessee seemingly has pushed it to 4.5. And yes, I do like Tennessee. Possible upset here, which could knock Jacksonville out of the playoffs at 9-8. Certainly they wouldn't win their division, considering the two teams that they're tied with at 9-7. There's a 3-way tie right now. They face each other. It's Houston and Indianapolis. So one of those teams is guaranteed to, I guess you could have a tie theoretically, imagine that, but you would expect one team to win that game, get to 10 wins, and win the division if the Jaguars lose, and it just feels like Tennessee is such an annoying team to face, especially you go on the road. Will Levis, the young quarterback, DeAndre Hopkins, Tennessee, their fan base, they want to lose these games because they're looking at a possible top 7, top 8 overall draft pick, maybe get Will Levis, a franchise-type left tackle, but the way this Tennessee team is coached at home, even if Levis gets injured, I know he's kind of been banged up, you do have Ryan Tannehill as a very capable backup. I think this could be an upset. Jacksonville's had kind of a weird year. Trevor Lawrence has been banged up. They play the backup QB last week. They destroy Carolina, but that was at home. This is a different set of circumstances. I do like the value in Tennessee to keep this game close, possibly win outright. The next potential upset, it is Carolina at home against Tampa Bay. So this is a very similar situation. Carolina, of course, a lot worse than Tennessee is, but this is a Carolina team we have found decent value in the second half of the year because Carolina, they're not trying to lose. There is no motivation for them to tank. Let me rephrase that, because I know nobody in the NFL is trying to lose, but there will be front offices that make certain roster moves and rest players because they'd rather get a better draft pick. Carolina doesn't have their first round pick. It didn't matter considering Chicago now has the number 1 overall pick, but Carolina did cover a lot of their games in the second half of the year. In this one, I do like them plus the 5.5. I've been against Tampa Bay for a while now. Tampa Bay was proving me wrong for multiple weeks, but then last week had a real brutal performance. They got destroyed by New Orleans at home. They were losing 23-0. They scored some garbage time points to try and make it look better. Either way, I will take Carolina plus the 5.5. I could see this being one of those crazy games. Last week of the season, Carolina wins it outright. Everyone's surprised, but it wouldn't surprise me because these are two NFL teams, and Tampa Bay is just really not that impressive, even though they are going for the division with a win here. If they win the division, they're 9-8. They're an average football team. They could very easily lose to a motivated Carolina team who's trying to develop their number 1 overall pick. Moving on to a 425 game, it is Seattle sitting -3.5 at Arizona. So this is a game I don't have a great read on, other than I do like the over, and honestly, I could see Arizona winning this game outright. The only thing I will say, Arizona, if you're a Cardinals fan, you want to lose this game. You want to make sure you lock up a top 3, a top 2 pick. Lose this one. Seattle, on the other hand, coming off of that demoralizing loss last week at home to Pittsburgh. There's an identity crisis right now with the Seahawks. What are they going to do at the quarterback position? Kind of an average year, going possibly 9-8, maybe getting into a wild card, but possibly missing the playoffs altogether. I think they need a new quarterback. Maybe they trade for Justin Fields. This is a game where I do like the over, not too sure on Seattle covering in that one. And then moving on to the Sunday night primetime game, it is Buffalo and Miami, and I do like Miami to pull off not a huge upset. The only reason you can really say this is an upset would be because Miami has injuries. Like, if you look at these teams throughout the year, Miami is just better than Buffalo. I know Buffalo had a run towards the end, but even the past few games, Buffalo against New England was a real letdown for me. They barely won that game. Josh Allen was not good. So I will take the Dolphins, who have been the more complete team all year at home, plus the 3. I view that as really good value against a Bills team. Seemingly, whenever they face a really good team, it's close, but they end up losing. We remember what happened with them, with the Philadelphia Eagles. I remember that game. I had them plus 3.5. They covered, but they did still lose, so I will take Miami in that one. And then getting to some of my top parlays. The first one, you can see Baltimore plus the 4. I already talked about that. That's a home game against the Steelers on Saturday. Tennessee plus 4.5 as well. They will be hosting Jacksonville, so similar spots there, plus 4, plus 4.5, both at home. And then the Saints on the money line versus the Falcons, they are minus 3. I do like the Saints, and the Falcons at this point, they're done for. They've got a lame duck coach. Seems like a pretty straightforward parlay there. The next one, it is Dallas on the money line. Very unlikely that Dallas loses. If they win this game, they clinch the division, and they clinch a home playoff game, at least in the first round, and likely possibly also in the divisional round. You do have Kansas City sitting plus 3.5. I like them at the Chargers. The Chargers have completely given up. I understand Easton Stick is trying to play for his future in the NFL, but I think Kansas City might win a slop fest even with their backups there. And then I will take the Jets plus the 1.5 at the Patriots. Very similar spot. The Chargers and the Patriots right now, with where they're positioned in the draft, I don't see either of those two teams winning. It's not like they're going to try and lose, but you can just feel it. I will take the Jets to win that game outright, and there's been a lot of money pouring in on the Jets, plus 2.5. It's gone to plus 1.5 there. And then the final parlay, it is the Titans plus 4.5 against the Jaguars. So certainly the Titans, I like them possibly to win out in that game. The Packers minus 2.5 versus the Bears. The Bears have had a great second half of the year for sure, but I just like Jordan Love right now. The Packers are motivated. They're trying to make the playoffs as a wild card team at home. They win this game, and they cover a measly 2.5 point spread. And then the Eagles on the money line at the Giants. I do like the Eagles to cover minus 5, but I will just play it safe and go on the money line there. And then taking a look at where the money is, you can see a ton of money pouring in on Baltimore. A lot of smart money on Baltimore, plus 4, 96% of the cash. The public split between Baltimore and Pittsburgh there in terms of the spread. I agree with the smart money. I would say Baltimore plus 4, and then tons of money on the under 35.5. That's a lower number. I would probably stay away from it. You do have Houston and Indianapolis. That is the other Saturday game. Tons of money coming in on Houston. I would actually I like the Colts to win this game personally, even though I would love to see CJ Stroud in the playoffs. Moving on to the Sunday game, Jets, Patriots. A lot of money coming in now on New England minus the 1.5 at home. Those are two backup quarterbacks. I would take the Jets there. The over-under is 30.5, and people are betting the under. That's hilarious. I mean, yeah, it's just hard to see those teams scoring a lot, but who knows? It's the NFL. It's unpredictable. You do have the Falcons, Saints. Tons of money coming in on Atlanta plus the 3. That's a lot of smart money coming in on Atlanta. Wow. I would just disagree with that personally. Over-under seems to be split there. Moving on to the Jaguars-Titans. Tons of money coming in on Tennessee. I would agree. You've got the Vikings and the Lions. A lot of smart money coming in on Minnesota plus 3.5. Wow. So look at the general public. 70% of the tickets on Detroit, but the people with the cash are betting seemingly more on Minnesota. You can see the difference there. I like Detroit to cover. Man, is Detroit, they have to be resting people. Wow. I did not think Detroit would rest people. They were minus 5.5. They're down to minus 3.5. So they had, a 2-point swing like that at home. It doesn't make much sense. Maybe it's because Minnesota went with Nick Mullins. I don't know. Moving out of the Browns, Bengals. Yeah, so the Browns came out, said they're resting basically everyone. You can see Cincinnati now 7-point favorites. It's tough to predict with the Browns, resting everyone there. A lot of people like the under 37.5. I could get behind that, I guess, considering the situation. Although the Browns have played well with a backup, They're resting players on defense, I would imagine, as well, though this time. You do have the Buccaneers, Panthers, more money coming in on Carolina. I agree with that, plus the 4.5. Moving on to some of the 425 games. Seahawks, Cardinals, very even split there. A lot of people like the over. I really do like the over, 47.5. I think that's going to be a higher scoring game in a dome. Rams, 49ers. You're looking at both of these teams possibly resting players. More money coming in on LA, possibly decent value there, plus the 4, with the 49ers coming out saying they're probably not going to play McCaffrey. Purdy's already out. We will see. Broncos, Raiders, more money coming in on Denver. Unless there's an injury, I would disagree with that. I think the Raiders win and cover that game. That game's a good narrative game for the Raiders to finish the season on a winning note, especially with their interim coach. Dallas and Washington, not surprising, more money coming in on Dallas. Big motivation to win this game, and certainly for the Commanders trying to lock up a top 3 overall draft pick with a loss there. You do have Philadelphia and New York, more money coming in on the Giants. I would disagree with that. I think Philadelphia finally has a solid win. They win that game by more than 5. Chiefs, Chargers, slightly more money coming in on Kansas City. It's hard to predict with the backups. Bears, Packers, more money coming in on Chicago. That's another game I would disagree with. I think Green Bay wins that game and covers. Bills and Dolphins, more money coming in on Buffalo slightly. Miami sitting plus 3, possibly due to some injuries for the Dolphins. And also Buffalo needs to win this game to make the playoffs. Otherwise, if the Steelers win against Baltimore's backups, Buffalo is screwed. And Buffalo did get screwed because this should be on paper the toughest game for the Steelers, but because Baltimore has already locked up the number 1 seed, the Steelers are basically rewarded by Baltimore resting everyone. So Buffalo did get screwed by that, but either way, we will see. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.